Inside Gateway. Today's guests, we have Keith and Emily. Keith and Emily, what do you guys do at Gateway Woods?
We are alternate house parents at Oak House.
Okay, so explain a little bit to some that don't know Oak House, who lives in there with you guys?
Sure. Oak House is the teen mom program. So the residents that come in there are either expecting a baby or have a child or sometimes two. So we can have up to 4 residents in the house, and then a maximum of 8, including their kids.
Okay. So as a mom yourself, how has that been for you, maybe emotionally, just seeing these young moms and kind of maybe putting yourself in their shoes, but just walk us through that a little bit.
Sure. When we got here to Gateway, I was 6 months pregnant with our daughter, who's now 1. Now she's 1 and 2 months, so 14 months, Tara. And so I think that my understanding of where they were at and their emotions was actually extremely real last year because I was going through it with them. And then over the summer, I had a nursing baby. And so I really enjoyed seeing how God just blessed me through that when I was able to just embrace where I was at in life and take care of my baby. And then they definitely watched everything I did, and I think learned by example, hopefully by positive example. And I find myself definitely being more trying really hard to put myself in their shoes, just them being alone, being single, and not having a husband and support.
Do you feel like you had a little more street cred because you were kind of going through it as well?
I think so, and I would actually feel that I tried to talk less and just do more. Like I would just take care of my baby and not say a lot, but it was neat though because I would see that one small example, like I put my daughter down for a nap and I sang her songs a few months back, and then I took her to my room, laid her down, and I walk out and I see a resident with her baby singing the same song, My God Is So Big.
Okay.
And it really touched my heart because it was something so small. I had said nothing, but she mimicked exactly what I did after she saw me do it. So
Yeah, that's awesome. So you guys have been here how long?
We came in March of last year, so a year and a half.
Okay.
Yep.
So a year and a half. Does it feel longer than that? I mean, it just seems like as house parents, at least from my perspective, it's like, I always say this, and maybe it's getting old, but it's like dog years where it's just multiplied. So a year and a half is more like 3, maybe more.
It seems like it's been a lot longer than a year and a half, and at the same time, it goes fast.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that it goes by quickly, but it does feel like a lot has happened in a year and a half. So.
Yeah, and it's hard to figure out why, but I think because so much happens within a day. You have so many moving parts, people, stories, just different moments happening. It just, I think it just, our brain can't quite understand it, and so
Sure.
just kind of
definitely. And sometimes when we're on duty for 2 or 3 days, I get back here to our house in Graybill, and I think it feels like a week or 2 passed.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe some ways time goes slower in a weird way.
Very good. So what brought you here initially to Gateway a year and a half ago?
Well, we had been praying about something new or a change in life. We've been living in Elgin, Illinois, and I was working for a property management company, and we just felt like we should be doing something different. And we met down at CVE down in Magdalena, and we had been thinking about and praying about maybe going there. And it just didn't seem like it was right. And so as we would discuss it and talk about it, we enjoyed our time when we were in CVE, and we worked with girls down there too. We had a house full of 10 girls when we were initially there, and they're all grown up now. But we kind of had that draw in our hearts to get back into something, working with kids, and just discussing. We've always known about Gateway and the mission here, and when we would talk about CVE, some of the difficult things there, having small children of our own, was how the pieces would fit, being house parents down there with our young kids, if we'd be working with some of the young kids there. And we would often mention, like, it may be easier if the kids were teenagers or older, like Gateway, but we didn't really feel called to Gateway at that time or drawn to it. But the more we talked about it, the more it kind of made sense. And then we came and visited and stayed a night here, and just through praying about it, we really felt like this is where we should come. And that all happened fairly quickly. I think that was in January of 2017, and then by March we were moving here. So
Wow.
yep.
So you mentioned a little bit about CVE. Can you compare and contrast a little bit some of the major differences for those of us that haven't had the opportunity to be in both?
Go ahead.
There are not very many similarities.
Okay.
The biggest similarity is that it's a residential care center, not center, but property or ministry. But CVE, the kids most of the time are there longer term.
Okay.
So for example, when we were at CVE, we had 10 girls when we got there, and then we were down to about 6 after a year. And all of those girls at least spent anywhere from maybe 3 to 10 years there.
Oh,
A couple of them left shortly after or were adopted, but then a few of them were there up to 10 years. So the time that they stay at CVE is very different here at Gateway, it being anywhere most of the time from 6 to 9 months. And then the age of the kids is so different. So at CVE, it's more like foster care. Okay. So the kids are usually anywhere from, they could be a baby or up to 10 to 12 possibly when they arrive at CVE. Obviously at Gateway being completely different, anywhere from maybe 12 to 17 is probably average at Gateway. Any more thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, they're both missions to help the kids and their families, but it's just, the feel was very different, especially when we were down in Magdalena. It was new, and it was a lot smaller. It was much more like a big family feel, working with the other house parents and the kids, and we did a lot, as a community together. And in Gateway, the kids come and go so fast. I feel like 6 months, 9 months, and they're gone. And you build a relationship with them, but it's very different than the relationships that we had built down in Mexico, because it felt, because of the time, because of just the structure of it, it feels a lot more like family down there, or at least it did for us. And CVE continues to evolve too, and change and go through different things. But in Gateway, it feels like you're just kind of getting to know, for us, the young ladies in the house, and then they leave.
Yeah.
And we were still able to stay in touch with some of them, but it's a different feel. And just the whole setup and structure of it, obviously working with the state, and with probation officers and DCS and things like that at Gateway, there's a lot more structure in that sense, and the paperwork and the logging, and at CVE it was more just kind of living life together. But then again, there's a lot of the things that are, the same too. You're dealing with kids, you're dealing with people and relationships, and so there's a lot of similarities in a sense as well.
Sure.
So have you gotten a chance to use your Spanish skills at Gateway? Have you had any Spanish-speaking
Just a
residents
little
come
bit.
through?
Not a lot.
Yeah, not a lot. There's one young lady here now, not in our house, but she speaks Spanish, so we were speaking with her a little bit. And some of the, let's see, there hasn't been a lot.
Okay.
The young lady that is there now, we did spend a few days in her house as their alternate house parents, and she really, really enjoyed when we spoke Spanish. Or I told her she should teach our kids Spanish, and she really enjoyed the fact that we loved her language.
Yeah.
It was fun to connect in that way.
Yeah.
So how long were you down in CVE?
We went down, we met there, and back in 2005, went down single and met there, and then were married in the fall of 2005. Lived in Elgin, Illinois for a couple years, and went down in July of 2008 to July of 2011. So 3 full years.
Okay.
We were there. Kaylee, our oldest daughter, was a few months when we went down, and then our daughter Brielle was born while we were there. And then we moved actually to Leo in 2011, and I worked at Paragon Landscaping for about a year and a half, and then we were back in Elgin area, as I had said. We were there for 4.5 years, and then back to Leo again.
So
we moved around a little bit.
That's a lot of moving, yeah.
Over a few years.
So has that been, obviously any kind of move like that's difficult for a family, but it's probably transforming in a lot of ways as well. Do you feel that all those moving has brought you closer together, or has it kind of brought up challenges, I guess?
Both. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's life, you know. I think it's just, I don't know, you know, some people they're born and die in the same town, and you know, that live never move more than a mile away from home. But that's
Sure.
just, God hasn't had that plan for us, and we just, I don't know. He's just moved us on at different times and moved in our hearts to do something different or go somewhere different, and I think we enjoy that, you know, the adventure of it, or but it is a strength, you know. Moving is a lot of changes, and especially now as our kids get older, for them to go through more changes, and yet there's other blessings in it though too, getting to know people and new areas and new experiences. So we enjoy it. We have enjoyed it, but there are things that are definitely hard about it too.
Sure. So how your parents? I mean, obviously moving to Mexico, moving to Leo, it's a bit shorter, so maybe they like that a little bit more. But just in general, how has it been for them having you guys shuffled around a lot?
We're blessed with very supportive parents, and I feel like they embrace the calling that God gives us and kind of make it their own. So that's a blessing. For my parents, obviously, they're in Indianapolis, so they're really happy that we're only 2 hours away. They like us working at Gateway.
Yeah.
I'd be glad if we stay for a while. It was harder for Keith's parents because we moved from Elgin to
Sure.
here.
We were with them there.
So that was more challenging, and I think overall we're just very blessed with parents that love us and support us through all of it, the craziness of it all.
Yeah, I think any step of life, if we have those that are behind us, that we care about and support us, it's huge.
It is huge.
Because if you don't have that support, you're conflicted.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm very thankful for
It's
that.
a blessing, yep.
So what is something that you've learned here that God has taught you individually or as a family that you're very thankful for?
A lot. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to answer. I think one thing is you realize that relationships take work. Like I was saying, even with working with the residents, even though it's a short time, and getting to know them, their families, relationships are hard, and you feel the brokenness of the world and in ourselves, and our need for Jesus and our need for the Lord and His help. And I think just realizing how blessed we've been, like we talked about with our parents and our families, and being raised in good homes, and desiring that for others, and yet seeing that it's hard to get there and go through that journey, but wanting that's been one of the real fun things with being in Oak with the teen moms, is just seeing new life in these babies, and just the hope that there is for them in their future, and but realizing that it's going to take work, for all the residents, for us, for just walking through it together and doing life, takes time, takes commitment, and it's not easy, but there's so many good things that come out of it when you invest in others and each other and build those relationships.
Yeah, very good.
I would say I've learned you don't always have to say something to make a difference or impact somebody's life. It's something everyone hears, right? Actions speak louder than words.
Yeah.
But I've seen it played out a lot more at Gateway in my role as a mom. What I do or say with my kids really, really impacts them, and they watch me. And when I get frustrated at my kids, they see it, and then I can be an example by telling my kids I'm sorry. And then if they make a comment, oh, you're really patient with your kids, and I'm like, when did they ever see me patient? And I realize they
When we
watch
don't feel
everything
patient.
I do. And I don't feel patient, but they see everything we do, and then they remember it, and I hope that they can strive to just want to be that a positive parent for their child.
Very good. Do we have any questions from the field?
No, but do you guys Can you share like a funny memory that you have from interacting with the residents, or maybe with your kids or
Sure.
anything?
Oh my, let's see. A funny memory. Yeah, I can't think
I
of
would
anything.
say it's just a really random summer memory. Was at dinner we had watermelon, and then Luke Keiser was there over the summer, and he's like, "Hey, something about a watermelon seed spinning contest," and Keith's like, "Well, let's have one." So it was fun. It was very random, and it was a good memory, I think, for everybody. So we took about 10 or 15 minutes, and we had a contest, and the residents loved it. It was the greatest thing ever. And then we all went back inside.
That's great.
And then I think another thing that I enjoy seeing is when my kids actually play games and interact with the girls, the residents in our house. So watching them play spoons, maybe once a week, not often, but and like fight over spoons in a good way, and argue over who got the spoon or who didn't. But just laughing, when I see my kids laughing and having fun with the residents, and my kids help a lot, just keep the tone to be positive. Then I really enjoy that moment. I'm really thankful for that.
Yeah, sometimes it's the levity of the moments that carry us through, because it can get very emotional and dark at times, and just being able to laugh and just even laugh at ourselves, like, and just have that sense of humor is a good thing. So you do school at home.
We do.
Has that been a challenge more so as house parenting, and how are you managing that?
Sure. It's a huge challenge as a house parent, because when we are on duty, I always feel the pull of Gateway and what do I need to be doing at this moment, and I'm not doing it because I'm doing school with my kids. But it's also one of the things I like the most about being a house parent and homeschooling is because Keith's around a lot more, so he does a lot more with school than he ever would be able to in a quote-unquote normal job. So I realized that with his support, I can do a lot more. I can do field trips a lot more and leave my younger kids with him, and then he can also help with the subjects that I'm really annoyed with and don't want to work with.
Which would be what?
Probably whatever any one of my kids doesn't like at the moment, whether it's writing or phonics or math, then I just ask him to do it. I feel like he's got a lot more patience than me sometimes. So yes, it's very challenging, but I wouldn't change it because I like the family time that we have when the residents are at school.
And as your kids get older, he could do a little bit more like small engines, or take them to the shop, woodworking, kind of on his maintenance runs.
Yeah, and they when we're on maintenance, he can spend time taking them here and there, and that helps a lot with school as well.
Yeah, very good. So, how's the community been for you guys? You were here in 2011. Now you're back. Has it changed a lot, or do you feel like you've changed? So perspective obviously changes as we grow older in life. But
it's, I mean, obviously a lot of the same people that were in the Leo Church and in the community back then are still here, which is really nice. And I think it was I would say an advantage for us having lived here before and coming in as house parents then and working with Gateway, having known the area a little bit and the people, and reconnecting with people, and building relationships further from where we had started before. We missed Leo. We enjoyed being here before, and then God had called us back to Elgin, so we were excited to come back, and we were excited to come back to the area, and so it's been good. We've enjoyed it.
very good. Yeah, I feel like being a part of the community as house parents, and then now part of the community not as house parents, we all need each other. I mean, this community, Gateway Woods, the Leo, and just even the surrounding areas, we all work together, and we need the prayers of those we love, and so it's very important. But is there anything else you guys want to add or give thanks for? Just people supporting Gateway Woods. A plea for, I think we need another assistant house parent. Maybe speak into that briefly, like how the assistant helps you just on the day-to-day and the importance of that.
Sure. I would say any young ladies that have any interest at all, If you even feel like you can commit 4 months, it doesn't have to be that you feel that you can be around for a year. And one example is we had a summer helper, Annie. I forget the last name. Walter. Annie Walter was here over the summer, and she was a godsend to us because we didn't have an assistant through the month of July, and she was so supportive and so helpful. And so I'm not really sure how we could have survived the summer without her. So even though her time was really, really brief and short, she was such an encouragement to us. So, yeah, I mean, I think that it's a great opportunity for anyone that enjoys spending time with people, investing in lives, and it's great if you like kids because Houseparent kids are around all the time.
Yeah.
How does the assistant role help you the most as an alternate?
Just having someone there through the dinner hour, if my kids need me, I feel so much more comfortable telling Keith and our assistant, okay, I need to either sit back to the bathroom and give my kids a bath now, or I just need to take them outside for a little bit. So just having that extra person is huge.
Sure.
Because I feel it's not usually wise or the right thing. If Keith's the only one in the house with the residents, then it's not ideal that I step out or even go back to our room and read my kids' bedtime stories. So just having a person there to just support is huge.
Sure.
And it's always a huge encouragement for sure.
Yeah, and the unique position of the assistant is they're the only one that's in the house with the leads and the alternates,
Yes.
so they're able to kind of bridge.
Sure.
Maybe there's miscommunication,
For sure.
or the house isn't being run as it should,
Yep.
and that's awesome. And
It
I'm
is.
thankful there is that layer of accountability. And when there isn't there, we were house parenting with assistance and without assistance, and
Sure.
you definitely feel it.
Yes, for sure.
But
For sure.
anything else you guys want to add? I've really enjoyed this time and appreciate your guys' openness and willingness to share and come on Inside Gateway. Next week, we are going to have Joe Beer, our new teacher's aide, and obviously has an extensive history with Gateway Woods and auction and house parenting. So looking forward to that interview next Wednesday. Again, if you want to see any of these interviews, you can go to our Vimeo or YouTube channel, and they should all be there. This is episode 25. It's hard to believe that we've already done 25 of these, but I've enjoyed it. Please join us live or continually supporting us any way that you can. We'll see you next week.
Thanks.